From the Heartland Business and Event Center, nestled in vibrant downtown Jesup, Iowa, welcome to the cradle of the Bohemian Resistance. We're the underground, the voice of rebellion and wit, alongside producer Blake Tempus and co-host Dale Rueber. I'm the Marquis of Chatham, Jim Gillespie. This is the news for March 16th, 2026. The sponsor who's been with us since the birth of the Steve Brown Arts Center is Derek's Repair, located in Jesup, Iowa. Contact Derek Marty for your car repair needs. I know Derek's a listener every week, so make sure you stop in and support our sponsors. Also, check out the podcast, What Is Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. On that podcast, they talk about everything with everyone. Nothing is off the table. Discussing real life with real people, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows, and everything funny in between. It's an interesting yet entertaining podcast with real people talking about what is up. Dale and I have been on that show.
Yes, we have, which verifies how good it must be.
That's right. So, Dale, welcome back.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, there was a sighting of you down in Des Moines.
Was there really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about these sightings. We went to Johnston on Monday. My grandson was in a show choir performance.
Okay.
All right. So we get there, and we're on Merle Hay.
Right.
We need to turn at the ice cream store to go up to where they live. And my wife she said, we're too early. She should drive around a little bit, okay? So I drive out by Fort Dodge and around and come back in. And so we pull in the driveway, and the garage door goes up right away. And there's the kid standing there saying, how come you didn't turn out at the ice cream store and come on up? And I said, well, how did you know that? Well, you're on the phone here. Oh, man, I'm not happy with that. You know, I don't like being tracked like that. So I'm going to have to, I don't know if you turn off your phone or leave your phone home, if that'll help or what. But, it used to be you could just leave your family and move out west and change your name and start all over again. And now the Social Security number and stuff, you can't just disappear like you used to be able to. I don't know what this country's coming to. So.
You ever read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair?
Yeah, many years ago. Yeah.
That's what they did in the jungle, is people would disappear from the Chicago.
Yeah. Now, there was one of my grandfather's family. There were like 12 boys, and one of them, this would be in the early 1900s, just disappeared, went out west and just kind of disappeared, and they never heard from him again, so they have no idea what happened to him. So probably got adopted in some Indian tribe. And see, I never met any of those people because they all were dead before I was born.
Right.
Anyway, he just disappeared out west in the Dakotas or something.
Oh, wow.
And so they never knew what happened to him.
Never to be heard of again.
Never again. So
you got to wonder. I mean, there's a mixture. Back then, it was easy to disappear. Now, with phones and credit cards and debit cards, they can trace, with the cameras, they can trace you forever.
Oh, yeah. Every Wednesday, I duck and hide, and you can dig me out,
I find you.
So it's hard, yeah.
Yeah. Which is, in some ways it's good, some ways it's bad. I worry about a number of those people that have dementia. Mm-hmm. They get in the car and drive and get lost, get in accidents.
We read about drive until they just run out of gas, and then they just sit there because they have no idea where they're at and everything. Right. And so, speaking of getting lost, I talked to a bus driver today, and you've heard about where kids will fall asleep in the back of the bus or whatever, and they'll park the bus and everybody goes home and the kids in the bus, they don't like it when that happens. So, but I talked to a bus driver today, and he said that in buses now there's a button on the back of the bus inside. When the bus driver parks that bus, he has to walk to the back of the bus and push that button, and then come back to the front and get out the door and close it up, because if he closes the door and he hasn't pushed that button, bells and whistles and lights flash and this sort of thing, it's a safety thing so that you don't leave a kid on the bus overnight. And I said, well, that's really a good idea.
That is interesting.
But he said they were having a bus safety meeting and someone from the state was there and they were talking about this, and the guy said, well, there's a bus driver, and it was a woman, which makes no difference, but it was a woman bus driver. She had a few mobility problems, and so she had her husband run a wire from the back button up to the front so she could sit in the front seat and push the button. Yeah. And he says it worked out fine until the bus inspector was on there and found that wire, and he said then there was hell to pay in a big way.
Was. So, oh my.
So I thought that's really a real good thing to have that buzzer in the back there, and it forces them to walk back there. That's great. So
This is
I thought that was interesting. Go ahead.
This is T. Brown Arts Center. We'll be right back after this word. This is T. Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back, and tonight's guest is Licon Opperman. Licon is an incredible artist. He is not only a musician, works with wood. He makes guitars out of cigar boxes, and he brought some of his work in tonight, and he's going to play us a couple songs. But welcome, Licon.
Thank you.
First, tell us, how'd you ever get into making guitars out of cigar boxes?
I think first we should say, I've never heard of anyone whose name was Licon. Do you know anything about that name?
It's a Spanish surname.
Okay.
My dad's friend in the service was Hector Huberto Licon.
Okay.
And he named me after him.
Okay, that's really neat. Yeah.
So-
I knew a guy in the service. His name was Reese Michael Donald John Robinson because his dad named him after all his friends that he'd had when he was in the Marine Corps. So it was so Licon. Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. And it's interesting how people get their names that they get. So
have you ever met who you were the namesake of?
No, I never got to.
That's too bad. So back to my question. How'd you ever get into making cigar box guitars?
My neighbor lady, her husband had passed away, and he had bought a kit to make them. And I had heard about them before, and so she gave me that because she knew I played guitar, and I kind of strummed it a few times and just set it up my dresser, and I sat there for a few years, and I was watching a TV show that Jack and Ozzy's World Detour, and they were down south, and there was guys who made them down there, and I thought, well, I've been a musician for years, and I have all these guitar parts that I've kept, never threw away, guitars hanging on the wall, can make one of them. Without knowing much about it, I threw the first one together with old parts, and then I started watching more and more about it and learning as I went, and it's still a work in progress. I get better with each one.
Do you still have the first one you made?
No, actually, I sold that one. I was kind of upset. I went to a craft show last minute, and I just brought what I had, and that was the first one that sold. I was kind of, I wanted to kind of keep that,
But you do have the second one. You said you brought the second one in. Pull that one and hold that one up so the people can see that.
And this is the first one I actually put the frets on. The first one was fretless, like the one that my neighbor gave me.
So you have 3 strings. All of them have 3 strings?
Yeah.
Do you ever make one with more? Or?
Yeah, I've made a few with 4. People have requested them.
Yeah.
They're 3 or 4 string, but
So what 3 strings do you have on there?
this would be like the A string on your guitar.
Okay, well, I know nothing about it. So you can say anything you want.
There would be one above this, and then there'd be
2 below. Okay.
How do you read music when you play the guitar or when you play that?
I don't. I never actually learned to read music. I learned by watching other people and by ear.
And we got to let the people know there's a great supporter of the Steve Brown Arts Center, a sponsor of the Steve Brown Arts Center, Donnie Jacobson, and you and Donnie were in a band together at one time.
Yeah.
And that's how we met you, was through Donnie.
Yeah.
What was the name of that band?
That would have been No Escape was the first one, and then we were in Standard Groove also together.
Okay, and you played what instrument in that band?
I played pretty much rhythm guitar and sang. I played other instruments in other bands, but that was kind of what I played.
Right. Well, so how long did it take you to make this guitar?
This one, it took a while because I cut all these out of Rolling Stone magazine and glued them on there, and then kind of learned as I went. I had to do the F-holes, make patterns, and so I think it took longer to put the pictures on there. And this isn't a cigar box; it's an old Crayola art supply box. It's a lot bigger than the rest of them, and it's real meaty. But
so tell the people. So you would cut the pictures out of Rolling Stone. I love that deal. Do you still get that magazine?
I don't anymore. But
I wonder if they still make a hard copy of that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I see that online every once in a while, but I don't see the magazine. I'll have to look in the bookstores for that. Not in any of those bad bookstores.
No, I understand. I know there are good bookstores and bad bookstores, and I know you never go to the bad bookstores.
But so you cut the pictures out, you lay them on there. How do you explain how you put those on there, Licon?
As I cut them out, I moved them around and just kind of randomly. But I tried to get the people that I've listened to over the years.
And how do you seal them then?
I use water and Elmer's glue, and like did in elementary school.
That's tight. That's tight for just water and Elmer's glue.
Well, after I did that, I put a coat of varnish over top of it. Then.
Okay.
That's what you want. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And is a special way? Is that the neck? You call the neck? Is that?
Yeah, the neck make out of maple, the hard maple. It's hardwood. They stay straight. They're the best thing to make necks out of. And,
sure.
I don't have one here, but a lot of the newer ones that I'm making I put strips of walnut on both sides on the headstock, and they look kind of neat that way with that darker walnut. With
Yeah.
So then, how do you get the bend in it or at the top?
It's
it's
a scoff
piece
joint, they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, you take a piece of wood and you cut it at 11-degree angle, and then you take the piece and you flip it around and you glue them back together, and then it makes that.
Oh, okay.
And
did you know that?
I did not know that.
I have the seam on the headstock on mine. Some people do it where it's back here.
Okay.
But they'll be putting a fretboard over top, and most of mine they're just solid maple through. I don't lay a fretboard over the top of it.
So is there some reason why it's bent at the top? I mean, they do that.
Yeah.
Does that do something with the sound? Or?
You have to. The strings have to be tilted backwards. Now this one, it's a neck that I made earlier on. That middle string didn't go down, didn't have that angle to it, so I had to use one of those. It's called a string tree.
Okay.
They hold the string at a further angle, otherwise you won't get the tonation right.
Okay.
I noticed you were saying your guitar. Is one of these not the ones that you play?
I play them all until somebody sells them. But these are basically the ones that have been besides that one's the newest one. But I've been pretty much making them as fast as people order them. I haven't had a chance to keep any around.
So is the one there's that from 2 boxes or just one big box?
Just one big box.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay.
Still got the handle.
Okay. And was that a cigar box?
No, this was Crayola Art Supply.
Oh, okay. Box. All right. So does it give a different sound then than the one?
Much
the
different
smaller
sound.
One? Is it more bass or is it more?
Yeah, it's bassier and deeper.
Okay.
And it does feedback a little more when you plug it into an amplifier.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, so they're electric. Did you know they were electric? I didn't know they were. Are they electric? Okay, I didn't know that.
So, do you have any metal cigar box guitars that you've made?
I've made a few. In fact, the first one I made was out of a round sewing kit tin. I made a ukulele out of a metal box, and I'm trying to think. I've made a few, but.
And so there is a market for. I mean, you go through a lot of. There's a market for them. And people, okay.
It's, especially with Christmas time. Yeah, I couldn't make them fast enough for. There's some people that got theirs a little later. Do people
get them to play, or just because they're unique looking, or
both? Yeah, I'm sure a few people did like I did with my first one in Honey.
Put up there. Thanks very much.
Just in the time that I've known Licon, there are 2 local artists that have asked me for his number and contacted him.
And they're musicians.
Yeah. So
in fact, I have one right now, and he brought over. It's a lunch pail that you can make guitar out of. The old metal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, how cool that is! What's the lunch pail of? Do you know?
Oh boy, I can't remember.
I tell everybody the story of how I hit Andy Messerschmidt over the head with my Scooby-Doo lunchbox in first grade. But,
all I ever had was a brown paper bag. So they hit somebody, they didn't even feel it.
They didn't feel it. Yeah. What is your favorite? Is it a wood guitar box? I see you have. What is that texture there, Licon?
It's wood. It just has I don't know. It's a paper. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of a fancier covering. You know? But yeah, it's wood just like the other ones. And this one here actually, oops, if I don't knock it down. Some of them they don't close so tight, so I have to put a screw in there. But this one I could still open it up
Oh, cool. Before we go on here, and before we have you play anything, who are, in your mind, look, I know you're a big music fan, who are the best 5 guitar players of all times? I've got a list. I'll give you my list, give you a chance to think about it a little bit. I'll go through my list, Dale. You can think about it.
Okay.
All right, a little bit. Number 5 for me, Jeff Beck. He's renowned for his expressive style. He's rock and blues. Number 4, Eddie Van Halen. Sort of technical guy. Number 4, Eric Clapton, blues and rock again. Number 2, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, and everybody knows number 1, Jimi Hendrix. He did stuff with distortion and feedback and everything else. But that's my top 5. So Beck 5, Van Halen 4, Clapton 3, Jimmy Page 2, and Jimi Hendrix 1 are my top 5. Would you argue with any? Would you put anybody else in there?
No, I agree. They're all great. I have a lot of different styles I like, but my number 1 on mine would be Prince, probably.
Yeah.
He did a lot.
That's a good one.
I don't know how to explain it, but he was ahead of his time for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
There is, while you think about it, there is a Lyle Lovett covered Purple Rain, and that, I'm not as big a fan of Prince as you are, but I really like his cover of Purple Rain. If you get a chance, check that out. It's got a goat rope flair about it.
Well, let me go back a little. Mine are older, but I remember listening to Dwayne Eddy way back. Yeah. I thought he was good. I thought George Harrison was an excellent guitar player, and the song "Secret Agent Man." There's a guitar solo in that. Yeah. But Johnny Rivers does that.
Oh,
surprised, because I looked that up because I wondered who did that. Well, it was Johnny Rivers. He was a much better guitar player than most people gave him credit for. So those are the 3 that pop into my head right now. They're older.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I love it. Secret Agent Man. When that comes on the radio, I always have to crank that up because I love that song. Just the guitar solo in there is really good. So those are 3 that pop into my head right away. They're from Chet Atkins was a good guitar player.
Yes, he was.
So I'm sure there are lots of others, but I'm not Prince or ZZ Top or whatever you're talking about. So, did you ever see the Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and you could have been in that band, couldn't you?
Yeah. In fact, my father-in-law's funeral, he requested that I played the
Constant Sorrow. Yeah, that's a good song.
So I had to play that at his funeral on banjo and my friend Larry, he played with me. I was kind of nervous about it. So,
how many years work is this?
A lot of years. In fact, I just trimmed it up yesterday. But every once in a while, it starts to get out of control.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I think when my kids were first born, and it's the last time I was clean shaven.
Well, it's a good looking beard. I like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I get to about your length there, Dale, and
you got to shave.
Yeah. Somebody calls me Santa Claus, and I get angry.
Well, I remember growing a beard as a young man, and I was walking down the stairs, and the high school kids were going up the stairs, and somebody said about Abe Lincoln. I went home and shaved that very day. So I thought, jeez. So yeah, I've been through that. I know.
All right. Well, what we'll do here, we'll take a break, and we'll come back, and will you play us a couple songs?
You bet.
All right. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We'll be right back with Licon Opperman. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're back with Licon Opperman. Licon, how long has it been since you've played in public?
It's been about 3 years.
3 years. So we are going to have you play for the public now.
All right.
Our listeners are going to be amazed at how great these guitars sound. Dale and I, and our audience over there are just pleased with the sound, the beauty of them, Licon. And we can't thank you enough for being with us. We have more questions for you, but before we ask you those questions, what's the first song you're gonna play for us?
It's a song called Carousel. I wrote it back in the days of No Escape days at playing with Donnie Jacobson. I wrote most of the songs that we played in that band, and they told me my songs were depressing and I needed to write a happy song. song, and it's kind of funny because the song starts out happy, and by the time it circles around to the
end, I met you down at the Green Roast Cafe, and Donnie was bragging that you guys were probably the tallest band in the Cedar Valley when you guys played. So how tall are you, Licon?
I'm 6'8".
You're 6'8". Donnie's probably 6'5".
Yeah.
And there was somebody else in the band.
My little brother, he's 6'8" too. We had a 5'6" lead guitar player.
You got stepped on all the time. Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead and play us Carousel here.
Yeah, after takes in the pocket, I'm saving for a ride on the big carousel. Got one for me. Yeah, I'm one for my baby sis. Gonna ride with me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Not a sudden, but I swim going nowhere, just right and round and round. We go up and down, yeah, let's do the music's playing over the band, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's nothing better to do on a moonlit night in this funky little town. But to go around, yeah, we ride round in circles, my baby sitting next to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Few mistakes.
I've got to ask, what's easier to do, the chords, to write chords, or the lyrics?
The chords come pretty easy. I mean, that's the little blues progression is all, you know.
Right.
I like to throw a lot of weird stuff in there too, and I don't really know the name of a lot of those chords.
This coming Sunday at 2:00 at the Jesup Public Library, we're going to have a jam session from 2 to 3. If you want to come over, you're more than welcome. For the listeners, you've missed that. This came out.
Yes.
This came out the day before. We tape on Wednesdays and it comes out on Monday. So the listeners will have missed the jam session. But we do our jam session the third Sunday of every month, starting in March and going to October. So last year the bugs carried us away out of the park. That was the last one that we did, but that was called Carousel. What's the next one you're going to play for us? Look on.
I might switch here.
That's all right.
This one here is a little different.
So how difficult is it, before you go on, how difficult is it to make it electric, or to put the parts in there
it's not too bad. They all, well, these two have their, like, a vibration pickup. Those you can just hot glue in, but these can get a little tougher. You have to take a notch out where that sits, and depending on where you want it. But they're a little more adjusted and a little more to it than.
Right. So what is this song you're going to play for us?
I might play a Grateful Dead song.
All right.
I don't know how well I do.
We're with Licon Opperman from New Hartford. He's got a website. We will have him share that website with us here in a little while. And guitars aren't the only thing he makes. What else do you make, Licon, besides guitars?
I make canes and walking sticks and
You made that necklace as well, or did that necklace?
My wife actually polishes the rocks and that, and I drill holes in them and put them on necklaces. She makes the trees and stuff like that, but I make stuff like this. This is a snake I carved.
Yeah, the serpent there. I see that.
But I carved dragons and bears and eagles and wood spirits. And
so do you go to fairs and craft shows and that kind of thing? Are you all online? Or
I haven't yet. Right now it's online or by word of mouth.
Sure.
Another thing I didn't know I could do. I started making these. The Dremel that I had went bad, and so I bought a new Dremel, and I had a wood carving attachment. And I was like, I just wanted to put a mushroom on top of my mushroom hunting stick. And so I, went on YouTube, and then I started carving and found out that I could actually do it pretty well. And then more people wanted them.
Well, sure.
Yeah. What do you think? We're about a month away from mushrooms here, don't you think? Yeah.
Not too much longer.
There
Ask
you go.
him where he goes and see if he'll tell you.
Well, we'll just follow him home, Dale, is what we'll do.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead, Licon, play us the next song there.
Rallied out from Little Robert's trail about 20 miles. Didn't get to sleep that night, the morning came around. Said, take my time and friend, the devil is friend mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. Two reasons why. First one's name's Anne-Marie, and she's my hustler. So now I'm gonna take my time, friend of the devil's friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep. Went down to the levee, but the devil called me there. Took my $20 bill and vanished in the air. Said I'm running, but I take my time. Friend of the devil's friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.
One of the Grateful Dead guys just recently passed away.
Bob Weir.
Yeah, Bob Weir. Yeah,
he keeps up on the music news.
I'm sure a lot better than I do. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're with Licon Opperman, and he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Thank you for bringing your guitars with us, and we're gonna come back right after this word and talk about your website and stuff, and we'll wrap things up for you so you can get home. Okay, this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber, and we're here with Licon Opperman. Licon, first off, what is your company name? You got a brand, your brand, or what is your brand on your guitar?
Brand, CT Walker and Company is what I call it. It comes from Trust High Walker, my last band, which is kind of appropriate for a train wreck I just did. But I said I'd play much better. I'm real nervous today. The logo actually is kind of comes from the old band logo, and they have here, the railroad crossing with the train coming down.
Okay.
Then each one of these, I bought a brand and I stamp them with the Tree of Life. It says C.T. Walker and Company instrument.
And then what's your website for the listeners?
T. Walker and Co. The C.O.
Yeah.
.com.
Okay. I'm not asking you to say the cost on the air or anything, but if they want the prices of your guitars, they have to contact your email. Is your email address on there?
Yeah.
What's your email address?
Licon C.T. Walker and Company.
It's right. It's under the contacts.
Yeah. And my phone number is there too for the call.
Okay.
But they each vary in price depending on kind of what you want. As I said, right now the orders are kind of coming in faster than I can make them. So
that's a good problem.
Yeah, you kind of can pick what you want, and I can make them. Otherwise, I have 3, 4 here. I'd kind of like to keep that, but if somebody wanted bad enough.
Yeah, there you go. If they want to pay bad enough, you'll sell it. Yeah. So, Licon, what is the average length of time it takes to make one for you?
With the process, gluing them and all that, the hours into it, it takes long, because you have to wait and then come back another day. And I'm kind of slow going right now. I have my back, so
right.
There's some things that I have to have help done,
Sure.
a lot of the sanding and running the saws and stuff. But I can, right now I'm like 4 guitars back, so I'd say probably 1 week.
Okay.
So, like you run one right now, it'd probably be 5, 6 weeks.
6 weeks out. I'm like you. You're 4 inches taller than I am, but I tell everybody about my back. I'm like a wiener dog. I used to have a wiener dog poodle mix, and that wiener dog poodle mix was always paralyzed for a day because the back would get out of concoction. And that's my problem, and I can't imagine being 6'8". Your back's got to be hurt you all the time.
It is right now.
Yeah.
I make it through.
There you go.
I hope so.
You said your wife is also part of your company. What does she make?
She does the rock polishing rocks, and she makes the trees with the stones, and she make like the dream catcher things and stuff like that.
Does she go to a lot of craft shows and stuff with the dream catchers and the polished rocks and stuff?
Not too much, I guess. She used to, but not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Then we just kind of do it as a hobby. Sometimes we'll both be out there in the garage getting in each other's way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand.
But there's a lot of people that help me. My friend of mine, Chewy, he gets me a lot of the maple wood and the hardwoods. And my friend Dana goes out and gets nice looking sticks for me to carve, and he gets me a lot of business too.
Yeah.
So there's also Caleb O'Connor there in town. He does this fractal burning, and I'm making one right now where down the neck of the guitar, it looks like lightning, he tore apart a whole microwave and 2 rods, and he washes it down with like water and baking soda.
Wow.
There's really so much that we don't know, isn't there? I can't get over it.
I was trying to get it done in time to bring it today, but it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Did you ever have another career that helped pay the bills when you were doing bands and everything, or?
For a number of years, I was a welder, and then I went into landscaping construction.
Yeah.
Did that for a lot of years.
Okay. Yeah, so you have a background that would help you make things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I built up a lot of tools over the years.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah. So, okay. All right.
But I had to buy a few specialty things for these, saws to cut the fret and some leveling tools and stuff like that. But
you are remarkable. One more time for the listeners so they know how to get your website.
CT Walker A&D Co. CO.
Okay. All right.
ctwalkerandco.com.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. Well, Licon, it's such a pleasure to have you on, and we're glad that people are after you. You're having success making your guitars and your art. You are a true artist, not only writing songs, but you make your guitars, you make other things, and it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back for the third half of our show, and Dale's got quite a list of things for us tonight. What do you want to start with?
Well, I've been saving up for 3 weeks. 1 week you wouldn't let me talk, and then last week I had to be gone, and so I've been saving this stuff. And when you have gems like these, you hate to have them just flitter away.
I understand.
All right, this is a little something called Kidnap in honor of our upcoming March date. In the fading days of the Roman Empire, a 16-year-old boy was abducted into slavery by savages outside the border of the civilized world.
Everybody was savage back then.
They took him to a remote land beyond the sea where he labored under the harshest conditions. So like you in junior high school.
Yeah.
The boy had never been very religious, but in desperation, he began to pray to God every day that he might survive this horrible ordeal. After more than 5 years in bondage, he was able to escape. He walked 200 miles to a seaport where he found passage on a ship that carried him away. Eventually, he returned home to joyous parents who begged him never to leave again. But night after night, he was tormented by dreams and visions. Voices beckoned. They told him he must return to the land of his kidnappers and bring the word of Christ into the savage land. And that's exactly what he did. The boy lived in what is now England. His kidnappers were Celtic tribesmen from across the water, Ireland. And that's how a young Briton named Patricius grew into an old Irishman named Patrick, St. Patrick, to be exact. The patron saint of Ireland is an Englishman by birth. Oh, the dread. The slave business, as a little aside here, the slave business flourished in Ireland for centuries before Patrick arrived on the scene. Celtic raiding parties would kidnap hundreds of people at a time. One of Patrick's accomplishments was to largely put an end to the slave trade. And so they put an end to slave trade centuries before America got around to us, So, all right, and one more little thing.
Where's that story from?
This is from a book called The Greatest Stories Never Told.
Okay.
It's a history from the History Channel kind of thing. So, okay. Since we had the time change, two big things in this month for me is the time change, what kills me, and St. Patrick's Day, of course. The men who stole time, okay?
Okay.
All right. The early Romans used the moon as a measure of the months. Did you know that? That led to a 12-month year that came up short with only 355 days. To keep the seasons straight, the custom of occasionally adding extra weeks and months began. But the potential for mischief was too great a temptation. Public officials began to manipulate the calendar to prolong their terms in office and shorten the terms of hated rivals. In essence, they were stealing time to further their own political purposes. By 46 BC, the Roman year was more than 2 months off. That's when Julius Caesar took charge. He mandated a new solar calendar, making the year 365 days long. He changed New Year's Day from March 1st to January 1st and added an extra day every 4 years. Opponents grumbled that Caesar, not content with ruling the earth, was now trying to command the heavens above. To bring the calendar back on track, Caesar added 2 extra months to the year 46 BC, sticking them in between November and December. He also squeezed in an extra 3 weeks between February and March. The result was a year such as no one had ever seen before, 445 days long. In Rome, this forever became known as the Year of Confusion, even though, as Caesar himself was quick to point out, it was actually the year that confusion came to an end. In the Roman calendar, days were divided into 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. So a daytime hour on a long summer day might be the equivalent of an hour and 15 minutes today, whereas an hour on a winter day might be as short as 45 minutes. Caesar might never have cleaned up the calendar if it hadn't been for his famous lover, the beguiling Cleopatra, portrayed here by the famed 19th century actress, this little angry in the picture. Cleopatra introduced Caesar to the Egyptian astronomer Siogenes, who explained the idea of a calendar based on the sun, then traveled to Rome to help Caesar put it into effect.
As you look for that, I believe the Muslim year is a lunar year.
Yeah, it could very well be. Yeah. Okay, this is a second, it's called Disappearing Days. And this has to do with, what if you went to sleep and woke up 10 days later? Now, who did that in literature? woke up many days later.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Now, Rip Van Winkle.
Now,
Yeah. It happened to millions of people in Europe in October of 1582. You remember that? And some of them were quite upset about it. It all had to do with problems in the calendar instituted 1,628 years before by Julius Caesar. That was just the tiniest bit off, and so the world lost 11 minutes per year for 1,600 years. The spring equinox had drifted from March to winter. Things were a mess. Pope Gregory XIII took matters in hand. He appointed a committee of calendar experts to examine the problem, and they suggested a more scientifically correct model. The Pope accepted their recommendations and issued a papal bull mandating the changes. But to get things back on schedule, 10 days had to be slashed. So on October 4th, 1582, much of Western Europe went to sleep and woke up the next morning on October 15th. Reaction was mixed. The citizens of Frankfurt, Germany, rioted against the Pope, who they thought was trying to steal days from their lives. On the other hand, peasants living in isolated rural villages barely noticed at all. Some countries didn't accept the change for years, creating massive confusion. But eventually, everyone let go of the missing days and adopted the Gregorian calendar we still use today. Pope Gregory was 80 years old when he fixed his signature on the papal bull, making changes to Caesar's calendar. These changes proved remarkably accurate. The Gregorian calendar is off by only one day every 3,000 years. Huh?
Interesting.
Ask something. Okay. Protestant England rejected the new calendar and didn't adopt it for over 170 years. When it finally did go, protesters took to the streets shouting, "Give us back our 11 days." Like they were lost, you know. I remember when they first started daylight savings time, and the people would say, well, the cows would be confused. Yeah. And it's like, no, the cows don't tell time. They don't care if it's 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. But I just thought that was it. So anyway, to me, I was amazed. Only off a few minutes every 3,000 years by making that count. Great, go ahead. You have a question.
That amazes me.
Yeah.
I've got to ask this question: when the railroad was first built, when was the time zone started?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do not know.
That'd be
the answer
interesting
to
to know.
I remember we were in 8th grade, and our teacher was trying to explain the international date line to us. How when you cross the date line, it became a different day, and we're all going, ah! And it was and I've had these days too, where you try to teach a lesson, and at the end of it, everybody is more confused than when you started. You know, and so I felt. And years later, I felt sorry for the teacher. But I enjoyed it during the class time because he was really struggling to get that across to us. We're saying, well, how can it be if you're here and you step one day this way, you're in a different day, you know? So we didn't understand.
Well, we were talking about this. I can't remember where it was at, but imagine living in the Central Standard Time in Florida. There's the Central Standard Time in parts of Florida.
Oh, in the Panhandle?
Yeah, in the Panhandle.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Then imagine your neighbors in the Eastern Time zone.
Yeah.
How confusing that would be.
Yeah. My daughter works with a company that does public health. It helps teach people different aspects of public health. They work with lots of different military bases and Indian reservations and all kinds of things. But she oftentimes has to talk to people in the Marshall Islands or in Hawaii. She does it all by computer. Yep. And so she has to stay up like till 10 o'clock at night to talk to them during their work day and this sort of thing. And so the whole idea is just crazy. But time, if you don't worry about it too much, it goes on. So.
We are in communication with an author in England right now, and told her that we tape at 5 o'clock, which would be about 11 o'clock her time, okay. And she is she's our age.
Well, I think she's older than I saw her biography. I think so. Yeah, we need to adjust our time if we get her. Yeah. Don't you think? Because Blake, he can stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, so she can do it.
But she said she would go. She would stay up till 11.
Right. Well, good for her. Yeah. So I think if that works out, that would be very interesting.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
And so, okay, I got time. This is the Goose Poop Excuse Bill from the Iowa House.
This Iowa House here?
Our Iowa House of Representatives.
Right now, this year.
This year.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't give old stuff. This is right off the press, just hot. Yeah, we all know we have high cancer rates in Iowa, and we have impaired waterways.
Yes.
Okay, and there's an impaired waterway list. Did you know that?
No.
And there's hundreds of Iowa rivers and streams, lakes on this list. Well, the legislature, instead of cleaning up the water, they want to narrow the list. So they have a bill that would require the Iowa Department of Natural natural resource to determine which animals are the source of all the E. coli contamination in an impaired waterway, and what percentage of the bacteria load can be attributed to each animal. And the department must solve that mystery before placing the waterway on the impaired waters list. Human bodies don't care where the E. coli came from.
No.
It just makes them sick. But from the Sierra Club, we believe this is a distraction and a means of trying to avoid putting waters on the 303D, which is the impaired waters list, as someone from the Sierra Club testified at a hearing they had. The Iowa Environmental Council calls the bill the goose poop excuse. It comes from the golf courses and goose poop wing of the water quality debate. These are folks who can look at overwhelming science and still argue water pollution in Iowa is caused by all sorts of stuff other than agriculture. Jason Palmer from the DNR told the subcommittee, it is possible to determine in broad terms which animals bacteria comes, such as swine, birds, dogs, or cattle. They could tell what's in the water. But what you can't do is attribute a percentage or a breakdown of the amount of the actual indicator bacteria. In other words, we can't say, okay, this much came from pigs, this much came from birds, whatever. So the notion you can determine 40% of a waterway's E. coli load came from geese, while only a smidget came from hogs, is not something the DNR can do. With more money and new technology, the DNR could learn a lot more about water contamination, but the legislature isn't going to give them more time or more money. The impaired waters list has become a pesky reminder of Iowa's water woes. The bill would mean the removal of more than 300 waterways from the list, which currently includes more than 700 rivers, streams, lakes, and other water bodies. This is just in Iowa. And once removed, they couldn't be placed back on the list until the DNR answers a question it can't answer. This change would significantly undercount impaired waters, increase public health risks, and leave people unaware of unsafe conditions for recreation, pets, and livestock, said Colleen Fowle, who's I thought was interesting. Her name is Fowle, a water program director for the Iowa Environmental Council.
Sometimes
There's no reason for this bill other than to muddy the waters around agricultural culpability for pollution. And about the only thing longer than Iowa's impaired waters list is the list of impaired bills majority Republicans have approved over the last decade. I thought that was cute. The bad bills pile is so high it needs flashing lights to warn aircraft. This is an editorial, by the way, from the Cedar Rapids Gazette.
Yes.
I'm stealing it. Okay. Instead of working to clean up the water, state government prefers a cover-up. No one needs to know about environmental damage done by the row crop agriculture and large hog confinement. Republicans defunded a network of water quality sensors tracking nitrate levels. We can't have numeric water pollution standards for lakes because not knowing and not addressing them are cheaper. What are the health effects of contaminated water in a state with the nation's second highest cancer rate? Stop asking questions. To these folks, Iowa's environment is a commodity to be exploited, not a precious public asset to be protected. And when in doubt, blame the geese. So I thought that was interesting and something that I believe in very. I am so convinced that Iowa's water pollution is to a large degree caused by agricultural practices, that it could be changed, but they just don't want to spend the money on it. They just don't want to face up to it. And so that's, so I agreed with that editorial, and I thought I should share that with you. It's my public duty in case you don't read the paper.
Thank you.
One more little thing?
You got Title 9.
All right, this is Title 9, and this is right after the Winter Olympics.
Okay.
At the 26th Winter Olympics, they have come to a close. For the third consecutive Winter Game, U.S. women have won more gold medals and more medals overall than U.S. men. Did you know that? This mirrors what is happening in the much larger Summer Olympics, in which U.S. women have won more golds and more medals than U.S. men for the past 4 consecutive Summer Games, going back to the 2012 London Olympics. In Paris, a year and a half ago, U.S. women won 65% of the 40 gold medals won by Americans, and they won 68 medals overall to 52 for the men, with 6 in mixed events. And they're going back to, why is this happening? It's Title IX, the law signed by President Richard Nixon in June 1972 that opened the floodgates for girls and women to play sports and created the mindset of opportunity and participation that dominates American youth, high school, and college sports to this day. I went to Owens High School back in the 60s. We had no women's sports of any kind.
Right.
No basketball, no softball, no tennis, no nothing. I think it could be cheerleaders, I believe, and they could be in the Latin club or something like that. But what they're saying is that because of that law, we now have women's college sports that are funneling into professional women's sports that are being watched by everyone. And it all goes back, this law that now, in this day and age, probably a lot of our politicians would not pass it. But because of the Title IX, it's made a big change for the women the girls and women in our country, and all for the better. And it's really paying dividends. In other countries around the world, they quoted someone from England saying that we need to start doing this in England because we're falling way behind in our women participating in this sort of thing. So I thought Title IX, that was a good bill that you passed, Jim.
If you look at Nixon in '68 and '72, he leaned fairly left. I mean, you go back to Kennedy, and he leaned a little right for a Democrat, and you look at Nixon, he leaned a little left for a Republican. Both of those gentlemen, I'm afraid, would probably go the directions that their parties are now today.
It's hard to speculate on that, but it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I don't know where you were at in school, but I remember my class having huge debates about Nixon and Kennedy back when they were running against each other. Was that the 1960 election?
I wasn't born, but that's all right.
Well, it was a lot of fun. You should have been there. But the girls especially were just they would argue for Kennedy because he was just so darn good looking, and everything. It was very interesting. And I think the boys were more, Eisenhower. Now we have Nixon, we just continue on with the wonderful world we have. And so, but it was just the most fun because the teacher would let us go, because we would have these big arguments in social studies class about the election. And it was just a whole lot of fun. Mike Fedgater, he works for the cities on Farmers Day Board, had shoulder surgery. And so he's out for a while. And so I wanted to say hello to him because I'm sure he listens every week to our podcast.
And say hi to Mike. And speaking of Mike, we want to say hi to our sponsor, Mike Farrell of Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. Mike is recovering from surgery, and I know that he's probably doing some stuff that the doctor told him not to do.
Mike, that's how he got that shot in the first place, right? So, I see his truck was down at St. A's in the parking lot there this weekend. I think he did that last year during Lent, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Mike and his family are so good for our community, and we're real fortunate to have him. He's so good for the Steve Brown Arts Center.
Well, he makes donations to quite a few places. Yes. He's very generous.
Yes, he is.
He loves, when he was on his podcast, he explained about how he made pizzas when he was a kid and got into the lobster thing with it, and something he liked doing, and so he's just carrying it on, and he's not in it to become a millionaire, but it's more just something he likes to do, and if he can use the money from that to help out people, he's more than happy to do it. And so, very nice man.
He is.
Even though he votes Republican.
All right. Well, we've got a few announcements here before we close up. April 16th, it's a Thursday. There is a poetry reading. If you want to read a poem or a short story at Gedney's in Independence from 6:30 till 8, you're welcome. You're welcome to read multiple poems. You'll have 3 to 5 minutes. We have room for 18 people to sign up. Right now, there's about 4 or 5 people signed up. It's early on. You can sign up by calling the Steve Brown Arts Center, 319-290-0241, or you can sign up at Gedney's. I know Dale has plans to do a poem. I have a poem or two, and we're looking at the hundreds in our audience tonight. Some of those people have talked about doing some poems.
Not poems, but poems.
We will turn their arm before they walk out the door. But we also have Shelby Stone is showing her art in the community room at the Jesup Public Library.
No one is allowed to do I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. We can't have that one.
Okay. So, all right. Shelby was on last week with Madison, her partner, from the Farmer's Wife. Don't forget, next week we are coming at you from Joe's Pizza in Manchester with artists Rex Nielsen, Billy Joe Oldakowski, and Katie Belvans. And then Tim Kimmer will be playing some songs. Don't forget that we have a 24-hour Mustang camera outside of Joe's Pizza in Independence, and the 24-hour Hawk camera just outside of Joe's Pizza in Manchester. Manchester. There is the Little Free Art House right next to or close to the school administration building in Independence that people can use. I went to Comic Con in Cedar Falls, one of the coolest events I've ever been to. Around 100 artists and thousands of people. It just amazed me.
Where'd they have that at?
They had it at the Hilton over in Cedar Falls.
Okay.
I mean, I got there and there were people lined up outside of the building.
Are they dressed up like their favorite?
There were.
Okay,
There were cosplay dressed in Star Wars and Star Trek and there were people selling swords and there were people selling comics. Local comic writer Austin Hamlin was there.
Was he? Okay.
Selling stuff that he had written, and he was right. I was so pleased for him. He was right inside the door. He said one of the best selling days he's ever had. Don't forget that we we have John Decker in M's Coffee Shop with his Easter show. Works perfect. The wall is painted yellow and his stuff is Easter colors. It's wonderful. John is a special friend of the Steve Brown Arts Center. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have any news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. Don't forget we're at Joe's Pizza in Manchester next week. The first 100 people there get free pizza.
Right.
So get there before Dale and I and Blake eat all the pizza. If you are a fan and know of an artist, let us know. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus and a crowd of hundreds. Our thanks as always to Kelly C. Haas and Heartland Business and Event Center for hosting us and sponsoring us. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life, and remember, each day is about little victories.